censorship. Yesterday, today, where's the truth? Where are the lies? We don't seem to know until it becomes a part of our history. Red channels. See, World War II challenged the issue of race and supposedly spread democracy. It wiped totalitarianism out of place, along with fascism and Hitler's supremacy. Now, witness to the Holocaust left soldiers devastated, and black men were especially hit hard. The American contradiction left them frustrated to return home and live by that cruel race card. They came home to live as they had before, segregated and denied full rights, recording back to live undignified and poor, while the rest of America began that upward flight. So there were cultural and social forces that began to coalesce to address the lynchings and jobs denied. And then there was a Broadway crew that did their very best to come together to fortify the necessity for social change. So there were American forces that worked very hard to get these dreams of equality closely in check. You see, speaking against racism and for equality and peace were symptoms of a communist, that infamous Cold War beast. People wanted peace, and so they began to insist. And Lord knows, wouldn't you know, that was the beginning of McCarthy's blacklist. You see, the blacklist has a way of making people disappear, just like they were never here. You ever heard of Dick Campbell or Canada Lee? No. And if not, it's because it wasn't meant to be. Supremacy takes on so many digressions to subvert people who were too strong. And so there were illegal and secret concessions accused the people of seeking civil liberties of doing something wrong. This was a satanic sting that everyone felt. They were listed in red channels and counterattack. Orson Welles and even Eleanor Roosevelt couldn't dodge that black bullet in their back. No, silence loomed and evil became ubiquitous because you see, America had bought into its own propaganda. And so that made the real deal sound utterly ridiculous, adding fuel to that Hollywood 10 panorama. Yes, it did. Paul Robeson was intelligent and well-read, so you know they had to put it on him. He appealed to the masses and he led eager minds with vigor and vim. Dominion took away Robeson's passport and his opportunity to perform. They took Jackie Robinson to court. They tortured him with the legal storm. Yes, Hazel Scott's show was off the air. Gypsy Rose Lee and Freddie Washington didn't last. Langston Hughes' poem, Life Ain't No Crystal Stair, became a part of everybody's epitaph. Yes, it did. That's how it was. So today, when I hear about the newest fear, I listen very closely with a mighty suspicious ear. See, there is no barrier to the depths of their control, no telling what new spell they bring, no telling where they lied or what they stole to keep our minds from clearly thinking. Red channels. We have to teach our children about the history that happened to ordinary people. We always hear about the greatest and the first black this, the first woman that, but what about the everyday people? What do they go through in that struggle to make life better for us today? I want to give you just a small version of that with New Birth. See, because you'll never understand what it was all about unless you know what happened before. So you have to get past the protests and shouts and look at a time right after the war. See, battle fatigue and economic meltdown had just about run this country into the ground. Vets needed serenity and to fulfill the dream of a comfortable life. They wanted the peace and prosperity of a nice home and a young wife. Well, lots of babies were made. It was known as the post-war boom. But America was still afraid because a Cold War boom. Now, behind this wholesome veneer was angst and despair because America had yet to be sincere about the freedoms they declared. Yeah. Gays were vulnerable to the lavender scare. Blacks were beaten and denied. A woman had her place and she wouldn't dare do anything except obey and abide. Oh, but when the babies became teens, around 1962 or 3, there were some changes to the scene because people were sick and tired of being treated mean. They busted open with the craze. A fearless generation could not be controlled. No, they were working harder for freer days. They weren't about to live their life of doing what they were told. Now, status quo didn't like this one bit. Can you imagine having equality for all? All Connors and Hoover were having a fit. Meanwhile, hippies and rock bands were having a ball. Sit-ins and boycotts, far as the eye could see. People were beaten, battered, and shot, just trying to get some equality. So, we're frustrated at this modern day norm. There is nothing new to be said. But you all must know that none of it will ever change until people make reform. But this time, let that revolution start with thinking up here in your head. It'll be a new day. We the people had to study the amendments and the Bill of Rights. We were taught to believe in them. They were recited in class and were the subject of many book reports. And we celebrated the Declaration of Independence every 4th of July. Philadelphia children had the annual trips to the Betsy Ross House and Independence Hall, giving an additional sense of pride to reside in the cradle of American enlightenment. We learned what a beautiful place America is and taught that liberty and justice for all was an ideal to collectively work toward. The anatomy of the flag symbolized our pledge to work toward that ideal. We, the people, are inculcated with omnipotence of established truths that flows through textbooks and newspapers and radio. The suit and tie stiffs with stone faces of authority reported the facts to the masses on broadcast television, protected by implications of impeccable precision and unquestionable validity. Lynchings in the South, massacres in the West, random acts of violence in the North, and hypocrisy abound that's so eloquently omitted by the few people who inform all of the people. So it seemed that the true Christian, true loyalist, the true law-abiding American had only to listen to this one voice of righteousness that guided the masses toward the American dream. We, the people, were told difficult to ignore this irritating noise of loud-talking people who were against the war and aggression toward powerless people. Many were weird to believe the white ones were crazy and the black ones were just bad. Neither worthy of credence nor compassion and deserved whatever consequence befell them. Anger and frustration clouded the plea, further adding a backlash to real American. So we the people found ourselves looking at those people, arguing with these people on what other people thought should be for all of the people. This ubiquitous confusion was neatly packaged in a national referendum that didn't have to examine its own consciousness or its own iron curtain. But we, the people, found it difficult to ignore those people whose supplication for freedom rang a visceral bell of subjugation in our own fascist soul. These stone faces of authority implored law and order, while other people implored equity that I vaguely remember belonging to all people. Clouds of fury and the fragile pattern of justice rolled through the heated stratosphere where harmony had no place but the beaten and denied, warriors and prisoners, the frightened and confused, of every hue, of every faith, somehow built congruence between the yellow papers we hold so dearly and the reality of citizenry. See, contradictory people risk their lives addressing contradictions. Radical people made radical changes. The cries and pleas of unconscionable despair behind the riotous fires extinguished only with desperate blood and frantic tears, though no longer being or marginalized by the people who controlled all of the people, telling we the people to ignore those people. So you know our work toward the ideal is far from over, but no, it were not for those people. We the people may still be denied privilege under the guise of rights that other people tried to withhold from some people that ultimately imprisons all of the people. We the people. Reverend Lyons Sullivan. Now, we had marched around the college wall, and we tried to tear it down. We had blockbusted Cobb's Creek, Logan, and Albany, and moving on up to Germantown. By then, the riots had cooled off, but we were still trying to make our way. We were deliberately excluded from education to get the good-paying jobs to give us just the possibility of a better day. You see, it was an era of dreams, a decade of visions. We had the greatest hope and the greatest rage. We were trying to build national esteem. We wanted to make our own decisions. Our oppressed population was hungry and desperate for change. Some of it could not have been done without Reverend Lyons Sullivan, who walked with might and confronted incredible odds. He reached out to people in the wilderness of social and economic despair with his self-help movement to get better jobs. But he applied the word to our metropolis in plight and infused a new consciousness to address our needs. He encouraged beleaguered souls to reach for greater heights. He resurrected our agility to learn, teach, and succeed. Don't buy where you can't work, he'd say. And let's feed one another. Let's strengthen ourselves. Get our own program together. Oh, and come Sunday morning, he encouraged us to come boldly unto the throne of grace and share in the saving feast of God's blessed word. Now get up from your knees. Go out in the world and take your place, because now you're armed with the mighty gospel that you just heard. He created alphabet soup of initiatives that went beyond our urban lives. He took his mission for justice overseas, and he even went to jail to overthrow apartheid. See, he was a child of Christ. He fought for what was just and fair. Now, what do you think he would demand of us today with our closing schools and proliferating jails? Oh, I bet he'd boycott every hedge fund and corporation that had anything to do with private incarceration. And you know he would. He would expose and shame them all, and then command us to unite in answering the call. And he would get that funding that would be needed for our children's education. He was the lion from Zion to get us from where we are to where we need to be. He will cut clear through all this stealing and lying to take care of our children and continue the fight for equality. Reverend Lyons Provides.
velando sobre mí. Abuelita, velando sobre mí. Y yo aquí con mi pena. No pienses en esas cosas, piensa en lo bonito de la vida. El sol a tu espalda y yo aquí, aquí, aquí. Y yo aquí, aquí, aquí. Y
Okay. That was an original song in Spanish. Rosa Diaz, and this is Johnny and Ida Cruz. And we're gonna do one more song from my album Whim. It's called Daddy Said Don't Force the Key. Okay. Came from the same